Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with the results of the latest Duelist Cup that were just released earlier today. We're going to be breaking them down over here on Road of the King, which is currently my website of choice when it comes to taking a look at these tournament results in general. And I'm not even, sponsored or anything. I just really like the layout here, not only with the pie charts, but also one thing I really like that other websites don't do is that they'll actually give you external links in order to be able to check out some of these posts by the decks, or by the duelists rather, who are using these decks, which it's so much more valuable to gain the insight directly from the source, in my opinion. Which again, other websites don't credit the duelist in that way. So, like I said, we're over here on Road of the King, and we're going to be taking a look at these Duelist Cup results. A lot of things were pretty expected, but there were some things that were still pretty surprising here. Even looking at just this initial pie chart, right? We're seeing that Malice is going to be taking up the majority of the pie chart, but it's really not by that much compared to the next two most popular decks on here, Draco Tail and Riseal. Now, one thing I want to establish really quickly is that we have to remember the format we're looking at, right? This is top 100 of the Duelist Cup. It's really easy to look at this pie chart and feel like nothing else in the meta other than these decks are viable. But remember that not only are these the top of the top duelists, but they're also going to be playing decks that they feel are most likely to be able to get them up quickly and efficiently through the Duelist Cup. So Duelist Cup format taking place over the course of one entire weekend and just needing to grind as much gameplay in that time as possible is a very different format from tournaments or from ranked ladder. So for the majority of us duelists who are participating in those as opposed to like high-level Duelist Cup, while this is a decent indicator of what the meta is like at the top level, it's not the entire meta as a whole. So I guess what I'm saying is don't despair when you look at here and see like, 0.5 Blue Eyes and be like, oh, Blue Eyes is completely unplayable. That's not what this means. A lot of the most important part of seeing data like this is knowing how to parse it and how to interpret it, right? But I do still think it does offer an insight into what is the best of the current meta. I guess what I'm getting at here is that this is a good breakdown of what the pie chart looks like for like tier 1 and tier 2 decks. But tier 3 and rogue decks aren't really going to be represented pretty much at all here. And just because they're not represented here doesn't mean that they're not viable at all, right? A lot of duelists will look at this pie chart, not see their favorite deck and be like, well, I can never play Yu-Gi-Oh! Again because my deck is obviously just terrible. Not even close to true, right? So, looking at the detailed breakdown here, before we get into it, it's important to note that some of these decimal points might seem a little confusing, like how can somebody play half of a Primite Blue Eyes deck? Well, again, the idea here, or not again because I haven't said it yet, but the idea here is that these duelists were using multiple decks per run, right? So one duelist used Primite Blue Eyes in addition to another deck, so that's why it's looking like that. Alright, of the top 100 players, only 81 players in their decks have been made known. That's actually quite a bit more than we tend to know, though. Or maybe it's about on par, I don't know, but... Alright, so looking at the top 100 results, we're going to see the actual deck lists for the top 10 decks, but I still want to go through here and just look at the overall list of results here. So, Brian appeared in first place, played Riseal and Malice, and Riseal and Mitsurugi. Oh, I didn't really even talk about the pie chart itself that much, did I? So, Malice and Draco Tail being good, I think is something that a lot of people expected. I don't know if a lot of people expected Riseal to be, like, on par with these decks. Indeed, I had a lot of people that were kind of saying that Riseal might be a tier 2 deck. Well, not a lot of people, but I saw some people this season saying that Riseal might even be a tier 2 deck, which I thought was a bit much, but I personally did not expect Riseal to be like, pretty much as good as Malice and Draco Tail. Yeah, they have a few percent more, in the pie chart than Riseal does, but they're close enough, right? And we got Mitsurugi and Fiendsmith Gem Knight behind. I mean, I'm personally disappointed to not see Orcus here, but it does make sense. Orcus is kind of one of those decks where when it goes off, it is like on par with the rest of these decks. It's just much more easily stopped, right? It's got more weaknesses between its reliance on the field spell and the graveyard. It's just got a lot going for it that's really easy to exploit as far as weaknesses go. And there are even weaknesses that some of these other decks share, like Draco Tail, right? Like a lot of the tech that's being used to hate on Draco Tail, like Retaliating Sea, for example, can definitely be very easily used against Orcus as well. Yeah, looks like only 0.5 of an Orcus deck. So sad, but anyway. Yeah, so lots of Draco Tail, lots of Malice, lots of Riseal. I'm just scanning through to see if there's anything, like, unique. I guess, like, I'm looking for that one random Sprite deck, but I don't think we're going to see Sprite here at all. Actually, yeah, we're not going to see it at all because we can see in the breakdown here. Rashid, by the way, is Odeon, for those who are curious. So, 1 White Force, 1 Primite Odeon, 2 Lunalight, sorry, 3 Sky Striker, 4.5 Gem Knight, which are on Fiendsmith, yeah. Alright, so let's see the deck lists themselves. So the Automat Riseal lists, I've noticed, are playing some pretty particular stuff. The double up, or double or nothing, rather, to go with the Utopia double is a pretty interesting choice. As well as, rather than 3 of Automata Para, we're also playing a copy of the SR spell card. Oh, no, sorry. Rather, we are playing... Yeah, instead of 3 copies of Automata Para, we're also playing 1 copy of the spell card that can search it. Yeah, okay. Which that was a little surprising to me, given that that's a little weak to Droll, but... I'm actually not sure if it was a budget decision. I can't imagine it was at this level. Or if there is an advantage to being able to, I guess, to play around Ash Blossom, right? Because if you open like 2 Automata Para and they Ash 1, you're kind of SOL. But if you open Automata Para plus this card, then you can... But I don't expect players at this level are going to be ashing the card that searches Automata Para, right? Okay, so we have Malice here as well, with the I Meet You to search the backup Ignister. That makes sense. Shifter remained as well, tech against Draco Tail, I imagine. And Red Reboot. Red Reboot is very, very good in this meta. I covered it in my techs against Draco Tail video that I posted a few days ago. But one thing I forgot to mention when covering Red Reboot, actually I forgot to mention, I didn't even really think of it at all in the moment, is how good Red Reboot is against Malice, right? As well as Draco Tail. And then we have Riseal Mitsurugi also playing the Red Reboot. Were all these decks? Yeah, all 3 of these lists playing the 2 Red Reboot. A fairly standard looking Riseal Mitsu list, except maybe for the Veilers over Imperms. That's kind of interesting. Let's look at the extra deck here. IP and Dynamundo. No SP. And then the Laplacian. That's very interesting. Was that in this list too? Yeah, Mathmech Laplacian. I mean, it is a rank 4. It's easy enough to summon, right? And it doesn't target either. And it sends. Wait, that's actually pretty good. I can definitely see why that would be used here. Okay, so here in second place, Pack's got a Draco Tail list. That's a pure Draco Tail list. Wow. After so many people saying that pure, myself included, that pure was just inherently weaker than branded or Magistus. Pure Pack is on the pure build. The pure build rocking a full playset of 3 Cartesia as well. 2 Secretarian and the extra deck makes sense if you're in a Duelist Cup format where you're expecting to see a lot of Draco Tail. That's another thing that I'll say too, that definitely separates Duelist Cup format, right, from like other formats. You're gonna see a lot of tech in here that is kind of specific. Some of which I would try, some of which I wouldn't. For example, the Red Reboots. I think those are pretty good to play on Ranked Ladder in general. The second Secretarian Dragon in Draco Tail, though, that I would not be as comfortable doing on Ranked Ladder, just because, like, here in Duelist Cup, especially at higher levels, like, you can definitely expect to see a lot more of the mirror match, right, or of those tier 1 decks. But if you're out there playing in, like, Platinum or Diamond Ranked Ladder, you're not going to be running into Draco Tail as often as these players. You're not going to be running into it often enough to warrant playing the second Secretarian. Even Master and Rating Duels, maybe Rating Duels you could justify it then, but even Master Rank, I don't think I would play a second Secretarian. Not that I'm saying it's bad and that Pack is wrong for doing it. Obviously, Pack is an excellent duelist, but I do think that some of these techs really are very highly specific to the upper Duelist Cup format. So those I wanted to kind of point out when I noticed them. But again, I didn't say that for Red Reboot, because I think Red Reboot's actually not a bad tech card to play on Ranked Ladder either. Third place was Stellar, who was also rocking Automat Riseal with the Astral Utopia card. Okay, which Ryan was not playing. Got the Astral Utopia, got Heavy Slump. Wow! Heavy Slump. That is not a tech I expected at all to see. For those who are unfamiliar, let me pull up Master Duel real quick and I can show you what this card is. You might recognize it once I pull it up, but Heavy Slump, not Slumpo. Here we go. The normal trap card that says if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, they shuffle their entire hand into their deck, then draw 2 cards. So we're actually teching that here. And I think I know why. I don't think it's against Maxi or Fuolo specifically. I actually think it's against Malice. And maybe even Riseal as well. But Malice especially is a deck that will so often end up with 8 cards in their hand without having to actually activate a Maxi or Fuolos, that I could actually see this being a really effective tech at shutting them down. It not only shuts down Malice, but again, if your opponent does resolve Maxi or Fuolos, it is actually really, really good, because you can pop off as much as you want and then shuffle their hand back so they only have 2 cards, right? You could either wait until the end of your turn to do that, or you could do it like mid-combo if you're worried about Nibiru. But either way, that is like, that's kind of wild, honestly. Yeah, I was just still wrapping my head around that Heavy Slump, and we're seeing it here in the Duelist Cup. I have to imagine, maybe there is another reason. If anybody has any insight, definitely let me know in the comments below, but I imagine this is an anti-Malice tech that also catches strays against like Maxi and Fua. That's really innovative. That's really cool. Got more Mathmech cards. Oh. I get it. I understand now that I see Mathmech Alumbertion here in the extra deck. So if you get Maxied turn 1, right, you can go into Alumbertion with 3 level 4 monsters. And if you use 3 materials, that actually lets you search a spell or a trap card. So that you can search the Heavy Slump. You would still have enough bodies set up like a detonator, you know, at the very least. And then, yeah, during your opponent's draw phase, you just go, and they can't Nibiru you because you'll have the cross up. Oh, that's so smart. So then during their draw phase, you just go Heavy Slump, and then they're on 2 cards in hand going into their turn. That's how we're using it. Okay, that makes sense. I wonder if Anti-Malice was still a thought when including this card. That was just my first thought when I saw it, but now that I see the Alumbertion, it makes a lot more sense. Okay, I understand. And this is an iteration without the Heavy Slump. But it's pretty much the same otherwise. They're both on Gamma. Oh, this one's on Lancia. Didn't I see them? Yeah, they're right there. This one's not. Which is also an anti-Malice tech. So I wonder if it was like, if this was actually intended against something else, or if it was just like 2 different iterations of like anti-Malice tech, right? Maybe, who knows? I mean, Stellar knows. People know, but that's so innovative. That's so cool to see. We have more Automat Riseal, also rocking the Heavy Slump. And the Astraltopia, got the optional Zubaba card. I've noticed Gamma quite a bit here. And a lack of Drolls in Stellar's build. I guess they figured that Droll was so useless against Draco Tail and Malice. Which I imagine, even though... See, this is another thing, too, about the pie chart, right? Even though these decks are all, like, relatively even in terms of their distributions here, I imagine there was more representation for Malice and Draco Tail than there was for Automat Riseal. Just because I feel like... I'm not saying everybody thought Riseal was an awful deck, but I definitely think this was slept on a little bit compared to these two. So... it's interesting to see these without Droll, but again, that makes sense if you're expecting to face against mostly Draco Tail and Malice. But seeing them both on Gamma is quite interesting. This one too, wow. And also rocking... Oh, no, okay, that was the one we were just looking at. Yeah, alright, so here's Malice. Playing the double Signet Mining, double red reboot as well. One copy of Lancia as a cross-out target, looks like. Extra deck looks pretty standard. This is a very standard looking Malice list for what I would expect from Duelist Cup Top 100. Very good stuff. Alright, here's more Malice. Only one red reboot, only one Signet, only 2 Allure as well. Playing the Drolls, playing Shifter. This build was not on Shifter, okay. 2 March Hares as well, interesting. Typhone, IP, a little bit irregular. Not the most irregular, but a little bit. This build, not on Typhone. Only on 1 Droll. Rocking a full playset of Allures, only 1 Signet. This one has triple tack. Interesting. So, when there's 2 different lists like these, I often wonder if one was like, is this just an improvement of this list? Quote-unquote improvement? Or did this person actually bounce between the 2 different lists? Again, you know, there is social media to look at. Obviously, there's a bit of a language barrier, but there's always a translate button. So, yeah. Again, just one thing I really, really appreciate about Road to the King is offering those direct sources to try to get that insight a little bit. Because, you know, again, even if the person doesn't, you know, have on their social media post that description, could always reach out and ask them. I really, really value that extra step that the site goes to. Here's more Malice, rocking red reboots, rocking Ghost Spell, full playset of Allure, 1 Lancia for crossout target, no D-Shifter. And then branded Draco Tail here at the very end. Rocking the Ghost Spell, double Nibiru, got a Cartesia. Extra deck looks decently standard. So, okay, so if that's the case, I wonder... Yeah, here we go, Draco Tail breakdown. Looks like there was a pretty even distribution between all the different variants, all things considered. There was about 6 really branded Draco Tail, 5 pure, 4 Magistus, and then 4 playing Fiendsmith. One of those with Fiendsmith also had Millennium. So it's kind of hard to say if there really is a one best Draco Tail variant in this scenario. I mean, obviously Branded has the most representation, but if you go by scoring, then it was here, right? Here in second place with Pack. Well, I think regardless, you know, it's always cool to see these top 100 breakdowns because they really, in maybe not every single way, but in a lot of ways do shake up expectations of the meta and of what top tier decks look like. Like, I mean, I'm sure everybody expected to see Malice and Draco Tail as the top 2 decks, and even though I don't think we were expecting Onomot Riseal to have this much representation, I think it was still a pretty easy guess as the 3rd best deck. But again, other factors like just how much Riseal was represented, just how many non-branded Draco Tail decks were doing well, and also the various techs that were being used do show that there's a lot to explore within a meta, even if it feels solved, right? A lot of people will look at this and be like, yeah, everybody knew Malice and Draco Tail was going to be good, who cares? But there's so much to look at here if you are interested in that high level of competitive play and really like fine-tuning your skills. I think there is a ton of information to explore here that's very helpful. But yeah, I think it's going to go ahead and do it for now. So thanks for checking out these results with me. And let's just go ahead and move on to our outro. That way we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic fantastic day.